Hello and welcome back to Living Stories Productions. My name is Ellen and I'm going to be reading the story today. We have been working very hard over the last few weeks to get some more Barry and George stories to you. This one has turned out to be so epic we have had to split it into parts, so we hope you enjoy part 1.
Barry and George Go on a Jungle Puzzle Adventure by Gerard O'Driscoll. There were two brothers called Barry and George, and like all brothers, they didn't always get on. In fact, like all brothers, they didn't get on at all. You'd think not getting on they'd live far, far away from each other. In fact, they lived in the same town, down the same street, even in the same house. Well, almost. One next door to the other. George, he was a very tidy crocodile, very dapper, always wore a waistcoat, walked with a cane and wore a top hat. He was absolutely immaculate. Just like where he lived. His front gate was beautifully painted white with black railings, and when you opened it and walked through onto the path, the lawn was beautifully manicured, just like a golf green. It was so smooth you could roll a marble on it. And as for the house, it was fabulous, painted in yellow with the front door so polished you could see your face in it, and the windows so clean it was as if there was no glass at all. You can just imagine what the inside was like, a place for everything, and everything in its place. His brother Barry was a bad crocodile, and completely the opposite. He was a complete mess. He looked dreadful. His cardigan had holes in it, and his hat was falling to pieces. And his shoes were covered in mud too. And as for his house and garden, well, you can only imagine that. The front gate looked like it had been run over. You could barely walk down the path for overgrown weeds. The front door was virtually falling off its hinges, and the windows were so dirty you couldn't see in, let alone out. And as for the inside, it looked like a giant had picked the house up, shaken it and put it down again. It was an absolute mess. But they were brothers after all, and they knew if there was a problem and they needed each other's help, they would be there for one another. So once in a while, they would do things together. Reluctantly, they would chat over the fence and talk about what to do. And one day they were talking and George said, "I was watching this film the other day, and they had an adventure in it. I think they called it, Jungle Puzzle." "Yeah, I saw the same film," replied Barry. "It was a jungle puzzle. Can you remember what it was all about?" George nodded, saying, "Why don't we go on a jungle puzzle?" "Well, for a start, there aren't any jungles," said Barry. "No, that's true," said George. "But we can go and find one, and we're going to find it at the zoo. There are hundreds of tropical animals at the zoo, and we can pretend it's a jungle. The plan is we go and work out our own jungle puzzle." "Brilliant," said Barry. "When shall we go?" "Well, we'll go on Monday. Zoos are usually quiet after the weekend, and we don't want lots of people getting in our way, do we?" "What a good idea," agreed Barry. Monday came, and as usual, George thought, "Right, I've got to go and get the bus, but Barry will make a scene trying to buy a child's ticket, like he always does, and upset absolutely everyone. I'm going to leave early." And then he thought, "I always leave early and end up bumping into Barry. I'm going to leave late and let Barry leave early." They agreed to meet at the bus stop at 8 o'clock, so George wandered up to the bus stop at 9 o'clock. But seeing Barry, immediately jumped in a taxi to avoid him. It turned out Barry had been stopped by the conductor from getting on, and so he missed 3 buses. Eventually he was allowed on, but only after George was phoned by the conductor, who promised that Barry would behave, which he didn't. As usual, he was upsetting everyone, firstly by arguing with the conductor, then by arguing with the other passengers. It was just as well the bus journey was only 10 minutes to the zoo, because he got thrown off anyway. When they met at the zoo, it was very quiet. Mondays are quiet days. So they went and bought their tickets and got a map of where to go. And they said together, what we need to do is walk around and visit all the tropical animals. And if we go to all the tropical animals, we can build a jungle puzzle. What exactly is a jungle puzzle, Barry? Questioned George. Well, I don't really know. I'm just hoping we can come up with something as we go. Yep, I thought you might say that, smiled George. Let's have a look at the map. What's the first tropical animal? Horse? No, that's not a tropical animal, is it? There's loads of them in the field around the corner. Flamingo? Not really. You kind of see them in Florida, don't you? And Miami. Remember that program, Miami Vice? That's where they were last time. Tropical. What's tropical? What about parrots? They're tropical, aren't they? Yes, I think they are. Let's go and have a look at some parrots. Off they hurried to the parrot house. As they crept in, their eyes widened, jaws dropped. Nothing could quite prepare them for the start of the jungle puzzle adventure.
We hope you enjoyed part 1 of Barry and George's epic adventure. If you would like to see more from the brothers and what they get up to next, keep an eye out as we'll be posting the videos in the upcoming weeks. If you'd like to support us as a channel, please like or subscribe. Thanks for watching.